Donovan Brown, state champion in track, state champion in football. Say, this guy's better than decent. Look how fast he is.
Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown. I got my guy with me. You know who it is already. Mr. Get It Done, Dino. You know, when you see us on the screen, you know the deal. You know what time it is. It's Devy Darling. But before we break up into this episode, my man, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I mean, I got baseball on this screen. I got football on this screen. Devy Darling's right here, so it's a good night.
Yeah, it's going to be an eventful night, that's for sure. This is a guy I haven't heard anybody talk about. I think we might actually be able to cut this cloth on this gentleman before anybody else does. Maybe some will say it's because he's getting opportunity because of injury, but all I know is if opportunity knocks, you answer the door. He seems to be answering that door. The guy we're talking about is Syracuse wide receiver Donovan Brown. All right, 6'1", 180 pounds. And listen, me, Dino, KT, we've done plenty of our research when it comes to guys and how schools portray them and their size and weight, right? Combine kind of exposes a lot of these schools. I look at On3, 24/7, any of these, stat sites, they had him at 6'3". Syracuse has him at 6'1". I've never seen a school chop him down, but I'm going to go with the school says. So we'll go 6'1", 180 pounds. He's a former 3-star recruit. He's a 3-sport athlete: football, basketball, track and field. Some may say track and field was the number one sport. We'll kind of get into that a little later. He comes from Montgomery County, Maryland, and he attended Quince Orchard High School, which is a big powerhouse football school in Maryland. So, talk to me a little bit about him over there at coming out of Maryland and what he brought to the table.
Yeah, so in 22, he was the Maryland 4A state champ. He was named to the Maryland Crab Bowl All-Star game. He was the 205th wide receiver in the 2022 class and the 28th ranked wide receiver in Maryland.
So, listen, I mean, those numbers don't pop off the page, but what that says to me is this kid got a little chip on his shoulder, right? Trying to prove he's wrong. And we're going to get into a little bit, but he kind of fell victim to, and I wonder how many more kids we'll start to see now, start to pop and bubble, victim to the COVID. His junior year, COVID took away his season. He only had one season where he was at that big school because he transferred over to Orchard School in his going into his junior year. COVID hit, lost that year, right? Had that senior year. I think if he had 2 years at the school, you might have seen a little bit more schools chomping at the P5 level. But we're gonna get to that in a few minutes. We'll talk about, like I said, he lost his junior year to COVID. Senior year though, right? Broke on the scene. They went 14-0. 14-0. State championship. 31 receptions, 611 yards, 13 touchdowns, damn near 20 yards per catch. Okay. My man was a little jiggy on the ground. He had 15 attempts on the ground for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. I left this section for you because I know this is your specialty, okay? And I saw the first number. I was like, all right, he'll be cool. But I want to see what your thoughts are on the rest of these numbers because this little asterisk on the side of these. So talk to me about him on the track and field side here.
Yes, I love this part. So track and field, 100 meters, 10.96. Pretty good. Anything under 11, normally pretty good. 200, this is where it starts getting really juicy. 200 ran a 21.83 and was a state champ. So benchmark 21 lower, you start getting into your more elite stratosphere. 400 meters. Now this is crazy. As an 18-year-old, 48.46 and was a state champ. So 400 45s and below are like your top end D1 Olympic athletes. So the fact that he was literally just right on the cusp of that as an 18-year-old blows my mind. Like I can see why you said surprise track wasn't his option.
Yeah,
Do we know, is he running track at Syracuse?
that I didn't get to see because it was
I would
hard
be
enough to
shocked if
find.
he's
Yeah.
not.
Hey, listen, I think right now he's fully focused on football. But dude, he's got gas. And when we break down his attributes, you'll see he kind of just like when he's in the open field, we see in a couple of plays, he just looks like he's like floating, like just what I mean, coastal, but he's pulling away from guys. It looks effortless. You can
Mhm.
tell that the speed is his bag for sure. Um, he had offers of Vanderbilt and Syracuse, and he committed to Syracuse on July 31st of 2021. But like I said, I think I'm willing to bet. He had a gun in my head. He told me I had one. I had to go one way or the other. I'm willing to bet that if this kid played 2 years at Orchard High School, that you're looking at probably a dozen P5 offers
Oh yeah.
for sure. The fact that like his home state didn't give him an offer, like that to me would be like complete disrespect. And now, look, we're gonna get to it soon, but now he's got the opportunity of lifetime going on to it. Some of his attributes that I seen pop off the screen to me. We mentioned it right away. The speed, and it's not, and it's speed at all levels. It's speed off the line, right? It's speed in stride, and then there's that next level speed. Once he catches the ball in the open field and goes to make that move, there's that whole next level of speed. Like I said, we look. It seems like he's just like Casper out there, ghosting along past people, and he doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat. And next thing you know, he's got a body and a half length lead on these guys. He's got good hands. I know he doesn't have many receptions on the year, close to around 30. I don't think I think he may have one drop all year. The kid's got hands. I'd like to see his route tree get a little better, but he tracks the ball absolutely well. And like I said, open field monster. I would not want to be tracking this guy in the open field. Dino, what did you say?
So yeah, definitely elite athlete. You can tell that he played multiple sports growing up. This goes. He's long, has a good catch radius. Whether he's 6'3", 6'1", doesn't really matter.
Right.
He reaches those mitts out, he's gonna get it. And when he's in the slot, yeah, you better watch out because he's just gonna cook you up.
Yeah, this guy, and that's why I like the speed option, right? Because if you hug him tight to that inline tight end in the slot, now you're giving this guy options to work across the hash in the middle, or possibly work his way on the outside and then cut up. And if he can get a step on you, which he normally tends to, watch out. Now, over at Syracuse, right? First year, played 5 games. Uh, all 4 games that he played in the season, I think he only had a few snaps offensively. Didn't have any targets or receptions. Mostly special teams. He garnered like 3 tackles on the year because he played in the bowl game as well. But that doesn't affect anything on him. So um, this year, his chance to shine was playing well aside Ronde Gatson. Right, Gatson goes down. He seems to be the guy now. 2023, 7 games, 22 receptions, 300 yards, 1 touchdown, right? 13.5 yards per catch. I like that. At 10.4 ADOT, I like that because they're not just throwing it to him right off the grip and he's getting on his own. He's wiggling his way downfield and getting open, and then he's exploding. He's got 135 out of the 300 yards after the catch. Dino, talk to me about some of these games this year.
Yeah, so week 1 through 4, he really took advantage. Colgate, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 65 yards. Again, Western Michigan, he had 3 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown, including that one where Schrader made nothing out of something and hit
Yeah,
him for that,
yeah.
for that bomb. Purdue, 4 receptions, 52 yards. And then against Army, he went perfect. 5 targets, 5 receptions, 54 yards. Then 5, 6, and 7, when they started playing more upper tier talent, we kind of started seeing a dip number wise.
Yes.
Clemson, 9 targets, only 4 receptions, 35 yards. UNC, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 25 yards. And then, like me and you were talking in the green room against Florida State, only 1 target.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. And now,
it's rough.
again, in the green room, the 3 of us had talked. Shout out KT producing the show. He doesn't get enough credit. You don't see him, but he works that magic in the background. We mentioned, when did Garrett Shrader become so mobile, right? And he may be because it's 4 different offensive coordinators in 4 years, but I mean, he's become Houdini with the ball. because some of his ball skills is absolutely crazy when it comes to hiding it and then just taking off. But I watched a lot of the games this year, going back because, like I said, this is the guy nobody else is talking about. So I wanted to make sure I was out in left field when I brought this to the table. He just seems to be like, running QB is your first option, my friend. If there's a hole, Schrader, take it and go. But when he does sit in the pocket, he seems to be wanting to find Donovan Brown. I like what he brings to the table. He's young, right? He's only got 1 year coming into before he went to Syracuse, where he was like at a top tier school, facing the top tier talent. He seems to be facing the top tier talent now. We're getting kind of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Like, I know Gadsden was out week 2. I think he went down, right? So you had some of those games where he was the wide receiver 1 and did well, and now you're getting some of the games where he's the wide receiver 1 and he's not doing well. But I can say, in his defense, these last 3 games, which all came with 3 L's in it, the Syracuse defense seems to be a totally different defense. They're not that lockdown, shutdown defense. I mean, I'm seeing a totally different model of waxes. And I'm not making excuses, but when they're not stopping you and giving you more opportunities, you know what I'm saying? You're not getting as many chances. And now there's film on him. So let's see if they make adjustments. If he makes adjustments, if his team makes adjustments. But this is that time when we give each other a play comp. And it's crazy because we seem to be so dialed in, because I have 2 comps kind of like in the middle of both of them, as do you. But we got a comp from the same team.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go first.
All right. So my comp, 2 people, Donovan Peoples-Jones,
Yep.
and Calvin Ridley. So I picked Calvin Ridley because he kind of fits that where he's sneaky fast, you know?
Yeah.
And then I picked Donovan Peoples just because
So,
Brown isn't he can play aggressive when he wants to.
right.
And Donovan is known for being a little bit more on the aggressive side in the slot, like he
Right.
was up in Michigan going across the middle. So and then I also kind of wanted to throw in Juju,
I
which
had a
I text
feeling.
you,
Yeah.
for going the slot over the middle, no fear sort of aspect, but I held off on that.
Yeah. So I was torn, right? Because if you would have put, and this is a lot to put on this guy, right? But if you would have put 10 more pounds on him, and if he's at 6'3", like they're saying on everywhere else outside of Syracuse, I see Anquan Bolden all day long, every single Sunday.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? Like working that slot, a guy who can be physical if not. But if he gets in front of you, like he's got a little bit more speed than Anquan. So if he gets in front of you, look out. That's why when I went back and thought about it a little bit more, give me Christian Kirk. A guy who can play dominantly in the slot. If necessary, he could work the outside, right? Because he's got the height and has the speed. But he can be a possession guy. Like I said, he can work the. Now you said Ridley. Right now they're trying to figure out who's going to work outside, who's going to work the slot. They're kind of adjusting from game to game, like who's been a hot hand in Jacksonville. I think Donovan Brown can play both of those roles. The speed factor for me, Jerry Maclin just jumped off the page. Now I know Maclin was like 4'2", something stupid,
Yeah.
right? But you see the fact that when you watch a guy pull away from speedy, most guys playing in the secondary, safeties, or DBs, they're running 4.4s, 4.5s, 4.3s. This kid is pulling away from them, and it looks effortless. Jeremy
Absolutely.
Maclin would make one step, have 2 body lengths on the guy, and would almost look like he was jogging, and nobody could catch him, right? So, like, for me, that's where I get the Maclin comp. I think he's a little bit bigger than Maclin. I think Macklin's like 5'10", 5'11". I'm not. I know he's a shorter guy. Is he 6 foot? I'm not sure.
I want to say he's over 6.
Okay, for some on the field he just looks so much smaller, but also was the guys
Yeah.
he was playing with, right? He was playing with some bigger receivers too. So,
Yeah.
those are my comps. I like your comps as well. We got one more guy round out this month, and then we're gonna have a whole new list. I think we're gonna surprise you with some of the guys on the list for the next month. But as always, we're not going for layups here. You know, we're trying to go dive deep, get guys that aren't being talked about. We started off with to bring in the crowd with names that you know. But now that you're here, we're going to give you names that you don't know, because by this time next year, you're going to say, I know that guy because Nino Brown brought him to me on a Devy Darling show. CFB Nation, I'm Nino Brown. That's Mr. Get It Done, Dino. You already know the drill. Devy Darlings, we out.
Syracuse, get this guy on your track team.
Yes.
Randall.
Donovan Brown, state champion in track, state champion in football. Say, this guy's better than decent. Look how fast he is.